I just clocked in for my shift when my boss quietly said, "Gino, I need you to pick up some dough. Hurry, but be discreet." I froze with one hand on the apron hook. The way he said dough made my stomach tighten. It was the same word I'd heard whispered in alleyways years ago when I ran with Sal Romano's crew in Brooklyn. Back then, dough meant cash, and not the kind that came with a receipt. Now, after doing 18 months for association with known felons and trying to rebuild my life, I was working at Tony's Diner on the edge of downtown. My parole officer had made it clear to me that I was to keep a steady job with no funny business. This gig was my ticket to staying out of a jumpsuit. I turned to Tony. "Boss, you mean, He cut me off, eyes darting toward the dining room. "Shh, not here." He slipped an envelope into my hand. It was thick, sealed, and unmarked. "You'll go to 433 Elm Street. You give this to the guy, he'll give you the dough. Don't let nobody see you. Got it?" "Yeah, sure," I muttered, heart pounding. "But why me?" "Because I trust you, Gino. You got experience in delicate matters." My pulse skipped. "I'm not that guy anymore, Tony." He sighed. I know. Just please. It's important." I wearily glanced at the envelope again, but I couldn't say no. Not with my parole check-in next week and nowhere else willing to hire a guy with a record. "All right," I said, "but this better be legit." "Completely legit," Tony said quickly, which, coming from him, made me even more nervous. By the time I got in my beat-up Corolla, my nerves were a wreck. I put the address into GPS and started driving, tapping the steering wheel like it owed me answers. 433 Elm Street. That part of town wasn't exactly a business district. It was more like warehouses and bad memories. Halfway there, traffic stopped dead. Some guy was changing a tire in the middle lane. I honked, cursed under my breath, and glanced at the clock. Tony said, "Hurry." What if he needed this dough for some urgent deal? What if I was blowing it? When traffic finally moved, I missed my turn and had to loop through a construction zone. A cop waved me around with a flashlight, and I swear he stared at me a second too long. I imagined him pulling me over, finding the envelope, assuming the worst. "This is nuts," I muttered. "It's just a job. Just pick up the dough." Still, my old instincts buzzed alive and had me scanning mirrors, checking tails, and watching corners. I hadn't felt that wired since the night before my arrest. Finally, I spotted the address. It was a small, shuttered storefront with no sign except a faint outline that once read Giuseppe's Bakery. Was this a front? Or maybe Tony's supplier for some under-the-table deal? I parked in the alley, killed the engine, and grabbed the envelope. The back door creaked open before I could knock. A short guy in a flour-stained apron looked me up and down. "You Gino?" "Yeah, Tony sent me." He nodded toward the envelope. "You got it?" I handed it over. He weighed it in his hand, then vanished into the kitchen. The smell of yeast and burnt crust drifted out. My pulse thudded as I waited, expecting some muscle-bound goon to appear. Instead, the guy came back holding a plastic bag full of white, sticky lumps. He thrust it into my arms. "There, the dough. Tell Tony next time to call ahead. We're busy." I blinked. "Wait, this is the dough?" "Yeah, what did you think?" He looked at me like I'd lost it. When I got back, Tony stared and told me the reason he wanted me to be discreet is because he didn't want the customers to know they don't make their dough in-house. I couldn't stop laughing.